Alright, the Final Fantasy VII marketing cycle seems to be kind of starting up again, and I wanted to get my concise, grand, overarching theory of the remakes together. So right now, it's currently split amongst various different videos right now that are almost a year old at this point. And the intention of this video is to be more to the point and to not go on the full tangents that I tend to sometimes get lost in. I'll try to avoid that here. And with that, there's going to be a few key main topics that I want to discuss theory-wise here. One is what's going on with the Lifestream and all the alternative worlds and how they function. 2, what makes Cloud so special? Why is he the chosen one here? And why does Sephiroth really just need him so bad? 3, why is Sephiroth doing what he's doing? What's his motivation? And 4, kind of how I think everything's gonna wrapped up, what kind of story beats they're gonna try to hit, and where things are gonna ultimately end up in the future. So let's get into it. The Lifestream. The Lifestream is the soul of the planet. It's supposed to ebb and flow forever in a cycle. And in the Lifestream are memories, dreams, fates, and destinies of every living thing that's a part of that world. And I believe that the original Lifestream was always destined and fated to be the Promised Land. That's where the ancients and the Cetra lived their happy hippie lives, and the Promised Land was the original Lifestream, and that was completely broken and changed when Jenova showed up. As we know, Jenova travels the stars, seemingly consuming worlds, sipping on that sweet Lifestream juice and then bar hopping to the next tap they can find. The Lifestream is a well-maintained ecosystem, and Jenova is an invasive species that broke the flow of the system forever and changed it. Jenova essentially broke the original Promised Land Lifestream, original sin type of stuff. And the ancients seemingly used the white materia and maybe other tools that they had to stop and cut off Jenova from damaging the Lifestream even more than she was. Since this Promised Land or original Lifestream was broken due to outside influence, a new Lifestream ended up being created, which is, as we know it, the original Final Fantasy story Lifestream, more or less. This timeline became the Lifestream's new persona. And I think the ancients carefully tried to craft this timeline as best they could, and they protect it with the Whispers and the Arbiter of Fate. And were these things here before? Were they created after to protect the new flow? Were these in fact the first weapons? We don't fully know, but essentially, again, Jenova broke the Promised Land Lifestream and thus left us with the new Final Fantasy VII original Lifestream as the main core Lifestream. Now, the Lifestream is like a river, and little branches and offshoots can happen. Usually the Arbiter of Fate would fix these or prune these, and these offshoots would never actually come back to influence the main Lifestream. They are like what-if worlds. Maybe sometimes they can join back into the same Lifestream and alter things a little bit, and this could be just part of the ebb and flow of the Lifestream, but overall, people at their core stay true to who they are and their core beliefs, more or less. But now Jenova wasn't just a small ebb or flow. Jenova was a big dramatic change to the Lifestream, which heavily altered its course and the identity and the fate and destiny of the Lifestream, more or less. And as we see in the remakes, big events are happening again, and these are being caused by various characters, so again, a giant shift in the Lifestream seems to be occurring. All this explanation about the Lifestream to say that in Remake, with Sephiroth becoming the Arbiter of Fate, he is changing the cycle again drastically for the Lifestream, defying destiny, and bringing in a lot of these broken branches we're seeing into the main flow of the Lifestream. And now these broken branches, instead of falling off and phasing out, are starting to flow into the main Lifestream. And with them come the emotions and memories attached to them, and they're tainting the Lifestream. We see this by the cracks in the sky. These are where the broken worlds are starting to flow in with their thoughts of malice, and they're starting to change the course of the main Lifestream. And in the remake games, we see events happen in these various worlds, these altered memories or personalities, and they're giving the Lifestream its new flow and new personality. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos, you might be seeing where I'm going with this reference of calling them personalities. But to sum up this Lifestream section more or less, the first Lifestream was the Promised Land. From there, it was changed and broken by Jenova, but the ancients were able to fix it, and then Lifestream 2 was created. This became the main Lifestream and was the original Final Fantasy VII story. And it seems like they're trying to protect this one very carefully with weapons and that sort of thing. Now in the remake, Sephiroth is bringing in various Lifestream branches that should have fizzled out, but now he's flowing them into the main Lifestream itself, and he's causing the creation of a Lifestream 3, another personality shift in the Lifestream. As we talk about Sephiroth and why he's doing this, things might start to make a little bit more sense, but for now I want to talk about Cloud and what makes him so special. So why is Cloud special? I feel like I don't see a lot of folks talking about the reason that makes him so special, or maybe I just don't pay enough attention. I went into more detail about this in another video, but Cloud was able to take memories of himself as a child, his experiences with Zack, and he created a whole new persona for himself. He went through a metamorphosis where he changed the flow of his personality and became the Cloud we know, and then later on in the original game, we see how he becomes true or awakened Cloud through his events with Tifa in the Lifestream. So to get to the point, why Sephiroth wants Cloud? Cloud can bring together, create, or even cause a reunion of broken and false memory fragments and create a new mosaic of them. And in this case, he's creating a mosaic of madness that flows into the Lifestream to create a more negative, dark, or black Lifestream. I believe at the edge of creation, Sephiroth wants to use Cloud to create a new, confused Lifestream flow, restarting the cycle with a different Lifestream that's full of despair and anger and all those negative emotions Sephiroth likes to push Cloud towards, to create a new persona for the Lifestream in its new flow and new cycle. But the question is, why would Sephiroth do this? Why would he want Cloud for this memory grafting purpose to create a new Lifestream full of malice? Which brings me to the goals and motivations of Sephiroth here. Because of Ever Crisis, we now know what Sephiroth's past is like. His hopes, dreams, people, and lessons that are important to him and that have resonated with him throughout his life. All his core memories that make Sephiroth who he is, his human side, if you will. And we know the type of person that ultimately he wishes he was. But Sephiroth's character has changed from the original game. Sephiroth now seems to be more of a victim of circumstances. Jenova, his sword, Hojo, all these external forces are pushing Sephiroth to be a hero, but not the version of a hero that he wants to be. Sephiroth deep down wants to do good, and he wants to be able to save everyone. And Remake Sephiroth, I feel, believes he actually is doing good. Problem is, he is just going about it the wrong way. So again, I go into this in more detail in an older video, and some of my big predictions that I actually made in that video ended up happening in Ever Crisis, which is kind of why I'm sort of doubling down on this theory, more or less. But essentially, the Sephiroth we see in the remakes that stalks, tortures Cloud, that even warns Cloud about how Jenova works and talks to him at the edge of creation, that Sephiroth is from the original game, or at least he has memories of those events. And he's standing there at the end of time where the Lifestream loops and starts its flow again, the edge of creation. And this Sephiroth seems to be almost free from Jenova. Did he practice mindfulness meditation to get over Jenova's influence? Did he even defeat Jenova once himself, only to find she can never be truly defeated? Who knows how or what happened here, but I believe that this Sephiroth in the grand picture sees that Jenova's the one that caused suffering in the world and, committed the original sin. She's the one that broke the Promised Land Lifestream and brought forth all the suffering we see in the original Final Fantasy VII Lifestream. And Sephiroth at his core, as we found out in Ever Crisis, wants to be a hero who can save everyone. He mentions this a good amount in Ever Crisis. So, Sephiroth, of course, has a plan. And what is it? Erasing Jenova for good, using the tool he loves best. Well, maybe second best, the black materia. We learned from every theory dorks, like me, favorite new tribe the Gi, that the black materia can do more than just summon a big meteor. It can erase things from existence. And how does this black materia get stronger? Through negative emotions, anger, and suffering. Sephiroth needs this materia to be strong enough to defeat Jenova for good, erase her. Now, he has Cloud bringing all the malice memories together in reunion to create a dark, twisted Lifestream, the new flow full of despair and suffering. And this, in turn, will supercharge the black materia and can probably be used to effectively erase Jenova. And hey, killing Jenova is something everyone probably is on board with. Maybe Cloud and the party even work with Sephiroth to some extent to kill the bigger threat that is Jenova. Might get weird since Jenova is going to start manipulating Cloud by coming to Cloud as visions of Aerith now, but I said no tangents, right? But ultimately, this is just going to mean we're going to more or less work maybe with Sephiroth to use the black materia to bring down Jenova. The problem with Sephiroth's plan is, in order to destroy Jenova, the thing that caused suffering, you have to create a world full of suffering. And that's not really saving everyone. It's just removing Jenova, which is why I feel this plan is a little bit more layered. Now, this part's a little bit more of a long shot, so I believe Sephiroth thinks that he cannot become part of the Lifestream either. And instead of letting the Lifestream live and repeat its cycle renewed, having people live in that endless sky of freedom of their lives, Sephiroth would rather let all the memories of the Lifestream just stay in a limbo state. As Sephiroth learned in Ever Crisis from Rosen when he failed to save him, Rosen believed it is better to be in the Lifestream with his family than to live in a world of suffering without them. I mean, how many characters in the original Final Fantasy VII are broken because they've lost someone that they can no longer live with? But everyone can be together again in the Lifestream. Sephiroth can bring everyone back together to end their suffering of being separated by bringing them together in, well, reunion. Sephiroth does not want the world to end per se, he just wants to end the cycle of life and living for everyone, because he sees the cycle of living as suffering, which of course Aerith thinks is wrong, because despite her hardships, Aerith sees the joy in living life and loves the freedom that it gives. So Sephiroth wants to be a hero that can save everyone, not just by killing the monster Jenova, but by also preventing them from being forced to experience the suffering that is life. In a weird way, Sephiroth almost wants to become the planet or vessel that holds and contains this new stagnated Lifestream, carrying it on forever, and seeing himself as the savior of everyone. The thing is, I kind of think this is the ultimate manipulation of Jenova. Jenova may be killed by Sephiroth through the black materia, and Sephiroth thinking that this grand heroic plan to be the savior of everyone is going to work, but Sephiroth fails to see the trap. Sephiroth, by doing this, is in turn carrying out Jenova's living legacy, a legacy of nihilism. Just like how Cloud carries the living legacy of hopes and dreams passed down by Jill and Zack, but that's another tangent. So again, recapping all this, the Lifestream has ebbed and flowed and changed before. First with Jenova taking the Promised Land from the Ancients and changing the Lifestream that way. Sephiroth knows Jenova caused all of this, and that's why we're experiencing all the suffering we experience now. But he also in general just believes life is suffering. He will use Cloud's special power of memory fusion to graft all these bad vibes Lifestream branches back into the main Lifestream, corrupting the Lifestream at its core again, changing its fate and flow to be more grim and full of malice, thus enhancing the power of the black materia. Using this black materia, Sephiroth believes he can kill and erase Jenova for good. And since Sephiroth believes he cannot be part of the Lifestream, he puts the Lifestream presumably in himself and puts it in limbo, so every soul can stay together in reunion, not experiencing the suffering of life. Sephiroth is a fallen hero and savior, believing he has saved everyone from their suffering and wants to carry that burden alone forever, not really realizing or failing to see that he is just carrying out Jenova's legacy. But I mean, we're obviously gonna stop him, duh. And that's why we see Aerith and Zack creating new branches of hope that they in turn are probably hoping to bring in and influence the main Lifestream flow. Tifa and crew will probably work with Cloud to fill him with hope, and in turn try to have him use his memory fusion to create a Lifestream of hope instead. I think we've already seen this hope thing play out a little bit in Rebirth, as once Aerith and Zack kind of create these new worlds and we see this light of hope, we see the planet's weapons in the Lifestream sort of fighting the darkness back with them. And overall, it does feel like a lot of the story beats will kind of end up being the same as they were in the original, but things will play out slightly differently. Sephiroth wants the black materia, not just to destroy the world, but now to additionally erase Jenova. Sephiroth wants a reunion, not just of soldiers with Jenova cells. He probably still wants them to come together so that way he can erase them all, but he wants to do a reunion of everyone in the Lifestream as well. We'll have the visual crash of Meteor and Holy again, just like in the original, but it's going to be more of a manifestation of hope and despair. Only it'll be Cloud using his gift of memory fusion to create some new Lifestream, and like how Cloud eventually gets his mind right and awakens his true self, he will kind of more or less do this with the memory and personality of the planet and the Lifestream itself, bringing some new balance between the two, maybe creating something new. Now, I've had this thought for a while of how the remake trilogy will ultimately end, with a new Final Fantasy VII Lifestream being recreated or resurrected. Who knows, maybe that's the power of the white materia itself. But since people in the Lifestream are always the same at their core, but they can ebb and flow, even through drastic changes, our familiar characters will be somewhat changed in this new Lifestream. Aerith sort of told us and warned us of this in Remake. And we'll probably get some Final Fantasy VII spin-offs or sequels in this new world. Will it be a Promised Land? Will they make the ending look very similar to the original? Will Chadley be the one who writes the Final Fantasy VII lore book and tells our newly recreated versions of our beloved characters about the Ancients and their knights and how they once fought off Jenova and Sephiroth to bring us back to the Promised Land? Who knows? Let me know in the comments of how bad an idea of Lorekeeper Chadley would be. But yeah, this is kind of my overarching general theory for now. Sephiroth thinks he is a hero, but in turn he is actually carrying out Jenova's living legacy of nihilism, bringing folks together in reunion to free them from the suffering of living, while Cloud is carrying out the living legacy of hopes and dreams and fighting for the joy and freedom of living. Again, just wanted to get this out before the information for the final game truly begins. If you want more tangent videos, I have some, like how I think Rufus, Elfie, and Yuffie are kind of all connected, or how I think the Knights of the Round might work, other crackpot theories like that. But yeah, hopefully this was kind of consolidated and clear enough. As always, tell me what your thoughts are, pick it apart, and hit the sub button if you're feeling extra generous. But as always, drive fast, take chances. Later, nerds.